Hi, this is Told. Welcome. And today we're looking at the value cards for Go Wide strategy. I recently made a deck with the audience of Tro Stanny, a card that draws you cards for the number of differently named tokens. So I was looking at tokens and, just looking at value for, how much it costs and how many tokens you get or how many creatures you get so that for your go wide decks, like the Pakal deck or the Boros aggro, where you could look at that and say what's the best value for your buck. So, starting off the top of the list, Gleeful Demolition is, there's one caveat to it is you need an artifact, but for 1 mana you get 3 bodies. It can't be beat, right? Like it's the best card for going wide. It does have a caveat, but it makes 3 bodies for 1 mana. It's pretty great. If you can do, a 1-for-1 value is pretty hard to find, and this makes you more than a 1-for-1 value because 1 value would be like, 1 creature for 1, and then better than that would be 2 creatures for 1 mana. So this makes you 3. It does have that caveat, but it's pretty great. Moving on to the 2-drops that are fantastic. You have your Resolute Reinforcements. If I had to order these, I'd probably put Resolute as the top one. Best card if you're not worried about color. If you're just looking about that, it's because you can flash it in. So for 2 mana, you get 2 bodies on the field. Join the Dance, I'd put second. You get 2 bodies for 2 mana, and then later on you can get another 2 bodies for 5. So it has some secondary value. And then the Rouse Reinforcements coming in, at the 3rd spot. You get 2 bodies, but sorcery speed. So maybe you can get extra value somewhere else. But and then in the 3-drop slot, we just have the 1 card is the Bat Colony. It has a caveat that you need to have. Caves. You need to have 3 caves to cast it. So it does have that. But it does give you 3 bodies for 3 mana. So it's a 1-to-1, ratio. So I wanted to put those in the top tier. There's nothing for 4 mana in the current standards that gets you that value. Everything else drops off after that. So these are the top cards that give you a 1-for-1 value or better than 1-for-1 with the Gleeful Demolition. And then moving on to, I guess these cards also give you some value as a 2. Sunset Reverie has a caveat to it. That's why I didn't want to include it with those ones. You get 2 bodies for 2 mana, but your opponent has to have creatures out, right? So you don't always get it. And then Jadar, you get a zombie later. So you have to wait till the end step to get that body. So that's why I kind of didn't include those into those top 3 sets. It's more of a, secondary, value, even though you get a 2, 1-to-1 value for your mana. But now we're moving into, you don't get a 1-to-1 value for your mana. Now you get 2 bodies for 3 mana. So you have stuff like Born to Drive, where you can channel it for 3 to get some pilots. You got the Evangelista, so I would, put the Evangelista above, possibly above that. This does have the secondary ability where you can, equip it onto someone and give them value. So when you're going wide, it is pretty good. But, the Evangelist, you can, when it dies, it makes another creature. It also has Battle Cry type of thing. So that's a little bit better, value for the card. It has other stuff. Plus it's two bodies for 3 mana. We have the charm over here where it makes 2 green citizen tokens, and then you can give your creatures +1/+1 and gain trample until the end of turn. So in a go wide strategy, that's also pretty nice. These all 3 of these 3-drops. I pulled them out. There's a big list of 3-drops that give you 2 creatures. We'll look at that at the end. but I wanted to pull out the ones that are a little bit better. So when you're going wide, this also has the ability to, give your creatures +1/+1. Obviously you're sacrificing the creating the two guys, but it does give you extra value. And then Battle Cry, pumps up your guys when you attack in. And Born to Drive, pretty good as well. And then the Song of Totenzan. At first glance, you think like this is a great card because it's like one for X. So it's like, 2 mana you get one guy, 3 mana you get two guys, and it could scale. So, but the problem is that it can't block, so that's the only thing with that. But it does scale, but it is a 3 mana for 2 bodies on the field type of thing. And then we have Squee and Lord Skitter, where you have to wait till attack phase to get that guy, and Squee you have to attack with him. So while I would say Squee is pretty, obviously it's a good card, you've seen it in mono red a lot, but you have to attack with it. And if you're not looking to attack with it, that turn, be minus mono red, just pure like aggro type of thing. If you're going for a wide strategy where you're looking for the, to pump your guys, when I cast another guy or something, or, it's not necessarily the best card. But Skitter, makes more and more guys every turn, so it gets you that added value. So that's why I wanted to put it into this tier. Rod and Reunion technically costs 3. You can cast it for 1 and then flashback for 2. So that's 3 mana to get you 2 bodies, but it does have the caveat that you need to exile a card from graveyard. But I wanted to throw it in there because it is a 1-drop that gets you, it gets you 1 body, but then it gets you 2 bodies as well. Later on, you get another body for 2 more mana. Tinker Stoat's pretty good. You get in life, makes 2 guys. Aether Channeler just has more options. Obviously, if you're going wide, you want to go wide, but sometimes having those options is pretty good. Invasion of Segovia. They have Trample. Also gives you that battle on the field. I don't know if it could probably be pushed down over to this other tier. Maybe not that great, but Lord Skitter Butcher, it makes a rat, or you can do other stuff. You can sacrifice creature, scry, and then draw, or you can, creatures you control gain menace. So looking at that value, like when you're looking at a go wide deck, this adds extra value as you can give all your creatures menace, so then you can swing in, type of thing. And then moving on to the 4-drops, we just have a standard, create 3 bodies. So 3 bodies for 4 mana, Captain's Call. Probably not seen and not used that much, so probably the best in a soldier deck, but it is a 3 mana or a 4 mana for 3 bodies card. And then another one that's I would put above that, just because you get a 3/3 body and 2 1/1s, even though they can't block. But the Red Cat Gutter Dweller for 4 mana. And then moving on to the 5 mana slot for 3 bodies, it kind of drops off, right? So you go from 3 bodies from 4 mana, and then you go to 3 bodies for 5 mana. It's a pretty bad drop off, but that's kind of how it works. Is the more bodies you get, the less, the more expensive it is. Like we have Herd Migration, you get 5 bodies, but it costs you 7, and you have to have the domain. We have the Thunder Hulk. It costs 7, but you get 4 bodies for 7, right? You get the Thunder Hulk itself, and then 3 other guys. And then obviously he has added value the next turn, but we're talking about that, the turn they come down type of thing. And, you have Mass Production, create 4 guys for 6 mana. You're probably not gonna play that, although it's pretty great. It would be a great finisher. You put them down, do 4 damage, and then you get 4 2/2 guys or something, but, maybe a top end finisher card if you're looking at, doing damage, type of thing. But these are the 5 drops that give you 3 bodies, So you have the Skitter Beam or Skitter Beam Battalion. Obviously, this makes you 2/2s for 5 mana, and obviously you can cast it for 9 mana later for better action, but, we got the Hatcher in there. It makes 2 eggs. One of them becomes a 3/3. So, if you're just looking for bodies on the board, it's good. If you're looking for like immediate attackers, it takes some time to get those resolved. The Killer Among Us makes 3 guys. That's like another card, and then one of them is a 4/4. So pretty good card. But the only thing with this is you have to sacrifice it, and it's attacking creature. So that's, just be aware of that. Is you have to attack with a token in order to sacrifice this to give it the +3 and Death Touch until end of turn. Bird on a House, you make 3 devils. The Diagraph Horde, the 3/4 body makes 2 zombies. Probably not played that much, but it's there as for your black decks. Tainted Adversary as well. When you pay 2 mana and 1 black, so that's 5 total. You cast it, you pay that extra, and then it'll make 2 extra zombies each time you pay that mana. So technically 6, 7, 8 mana, you can get 5 guys. So you're more expensive than the Herd Migration at that point, but it is possible to get more zombies. The Ratcatcher Trainee, you can cast it for an instant for 2 rats for 3 mana, and then you can cast itself. So I put that in, into the 5 mana slot because it does cost you 5 mana, and you do get 3 bodies for that. And the Dog Catcher or Dog Walker as well. You cast it for 3 as the disguise cost, and then you can flip it up for 2 more, so you can get 3 bodies for 5 mana. But they're tapped creatures. Just I have problems with that card. Where you get this one, you kick it for 5, so you get 2 soldier tokens as well as a 3/1, and creatures you control have haste. So this is probably pretty decent. Above the rest of them, I would say, at least right now. This one shouldn't be in here. This is 2 men. This shouldn't be in there. Yeah. So that's all the 5 mana for 3 creatures. I would put the Strike Team above everything just because it has a haste. If color doesn't matter, and I guess they have haste as well, I suppose, and the egg gets haste, but yeah, it's good. And then moving on to like a lower tier, these are just more 3 drops that cost, give you 2. The Smelter has a caveat where you need an artifact in play, but then you get 2 bodies for 3 mana, and potentially more in the future. The Cavalier gets you, itself and another guy, and it has an enlist ability. The Mites, you can kill creatures or you can, not kill them. The Source makes a 2/2 guy. There's a 3/2 body that makes a 1/1. The Abomination, makes a zombie with the K. So, there's a lot of, for the blue cards, if you're going zombies. If not, you're probably looking at, the Breeding Champion is better, maybe, unless you're attacking. If you're just going all out attack, that's pretty good. But blue doesn't really do all out attack usually, but that might be a cool deck to make. The Corrupted Bishop, when it enters the battlefield, it creates a 1/1 human. It gives you 1 damage, but you can give lifelink to humans until end of turn for 2 mana, which probably those human decks maybe need to look at a black white human deck, uh, coming forward. And the exhibition magician. You can create a token or you can create treasure. And the mentor, just makes another human. You know, this one probably lower on the list of good cards just because you get a 0/4 body. It gives you a blocker, but exotic pets card that I tried to make work a long time ago. Just couldn't do it, but maybe we could attempt to redo it. Maybe with Ogier with the rebound or duping it or something might be pretty good. And the handful of hatred, makes a 2/1 creature, right before the combat step and it dies. So, arguably, it's part of this caveat group. And then these are some 2 mana or 2 creature for 4. Obviously you have all the X spells that can pump up even more. So you want to get, you want to use it for more than 4 mana. But technically 4 mana gets you 2 guys with these X spells just because, it costs 2. But stuff like Saheeli where you can minus it for 2, or Arlen minus it to get, you cast it and you can use it immediately without the opponent interaction. So technically it gets you 2 bodies for 4 mana. And then the Horde Master, 6 mana for 3s. We got some, the Horde Master gets you 2 wolves. And obviously it has other value. When it attacks when it's nighttime, you can make more. The triplets, obviously everyone knows this card, or if you've seen any videos of Eldraine, it makes those guys die and they make more guys, so pretty good. And then Rebuild the City is a 6 mana and you get 3 copies of lands, right? So might be something worth looking at with all the man lands out there. If you have a bunch of copies, but if you only got 1 copy, probably not gonna make a deck around it. And then I just have some cards in the sideboard that are like honorable mention type of things, where it's like, Glissa makes 2 guys for 5 mana, but then you have to incubate those tokens. Jenny Faye can make creatures with another creature making tokens, right? So so if you're making, that's like a whole different story. If you're making map tokens or other clue tokens or something, where you can turn them into cats and dogs instead. So it has a caveat. And the queen, she doesn't make tokens on her own, but she makes additional tokens. So it's like a caveat to that. And Packle, you have to attack. And, obviously it pumps over and over. And the Micro Tyrant, you need to descend. And then you'll make the guys at the end step. So you have, they have some high upsides. Like Roots deck is pretty powerful at times. Assuming that the Roots don't die and the Graveyard Hate hasn't come out yet. So, And, the Mentor, there's a whole deck around the Mentor, flashing it, bringing it into play, and then casting a bunch of spells, right? And Ovika, the Enigma Goliath, doesn't see play because it costs 7 mana, so good luck. Maybe cheat it into play is a good idea. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you create, X goblins, right? So it has that caveat where it doesn't make the creatures itself. It doesn't even attack and make the creatures, right? Like you have to cast another spell to make those creatures. It does have some high upside, but it does have, it's really expensive. So maybe if you reenact the crime and, cheat it out for 4 mana, maybe it makes more sense, right? And, Meryl needs to attack and you need more soldiers. And, the Puppet Stitcher is pretty cool, but you have to cast spells, right? So you have to cast instant sorceries to make more creatures. And obviously it pumps all your tokens, so if you're doing tokens, maybe you just put that out and the next turn it transforms. And now you have 3/3 guys instead of 1/1 guys. So, it's a card that you look at in addition to this value that we're talking about here, you know. And you know, the harvest, the ghoul caller's harvest, you create X zombies, where it's, you know, the creatures in your graveyard. Single colony can have the ability to make, like, you know, 5 rats if you burn down the house on it, right? Or if the opponent blocks it because they have to, you know. And the onlooker, for 4 mana, it makes 2 guys, right? So, you know, it's just an honorable mention there. And, you know, the haunch, you pay, you know, you could pay 1 mana, so technically you could make 2 bodies for 3 mana if you have some way of sacrificing it without having to tap it and sack it, right? Well, those are just some honorable mentions. You know, there's obviously a lot more cards out there in the sets, but I just wanted to cover, you know, kind of the top end of a 1-for-1 value for your mana, and then looking at some of the top cards for, you know, you get a little bit of drop off, you know, where you get 2 bodies for 3 mana type of situation, and just kind of looking at those top cards and seeing, you know, so, you know, just looking at this, you're looking at black, you know, you're looking at red, you're looking at white, you're looking at maybe black, and obviously there's like a lot of other blue cards, but, you know, not too much blue in there, you know, and like a little splash of green. But, you know, mostly you're looking at those colors, you know, red, black, and blue, or red, black, and white for the go wide strategy. But it has been told, like and subscribe, and hope this was helpful information to you.